सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
You've been seeing the headlines, same as everyone else. Can Nitish and Mamata get along? Will Nitish be the leader of the united opposition? What about Sharad Pawar? He says he's going to be part of the opposition, but his nephew is doing something else. And what about the Congress? Where does that fit in? Is it going to be part of any package that the opposition puts together? Yes, it's that time of year when we talk about opposition unity all over again. Every newspaper goes on and on about opposition unity, and it works on the assumption that once the opposition unites, the history of India will change. Well, I'm here to tell you that it's not that simple. See, there are three ways in which a government can lose election. The first is if people get fed up of it, if they think it's done something wrong. That's what happened to Indira Gandhi in 1977. It happened to the Congress in 2014. The second is if the attractive opposition is so irresistible that people say this is a much better alternative in the government and they vote for the opposition. That happened to the Congress again in 2014. And then there's a third option, and the third option is arithmetic. It's the first two that really count. If people fall out of love with the government, if they're dissatisfied with the government, what we used to call in the bad old days, anti-incumbency, then the government is in trouble. If a very attractive opposition alternative comes along, then the government is in trouble. If both happen, then the government is in big trouble. That's what happened in 2014 when the Congress was beset with a series of scams and Narendra Modi was an extremely popular alternative. As a result, the Congress crashed to an all-time low. So these are the standard ways in which governments lose elections. But then there's arithmetic, and arithmetic is what we're talking about today. There's an argument behind this. The argument is that opposition unity is everything. Let me explain to you how it goes. The BJP, you will be told, never gets more than 37% of the national vote. So they say, if the BJP only gets so few votes, supposing the other 65% unite, supposing they put up one candidate, then wouldn't that candidate beat the guy who got 37% or 35% of the vote? Put that way, yes, it's a no-brainer. The problem is you shouldn't put it that way. It's completely the wrong way of looking at it. The figure for the national vote comes from states where the BJP has no presence included. There are seats that the BJP is not even contested. So 37 is actually a meaningless figure. The figure you need to look at is the figure for the states where the BJP picks up all its seats. If you look at, say, Uttar Pradesh, at the last assembly election where the BJP won a landslide, it got around 44% of the vote, which is as much as anyone who's won Uttar Pradesh has ever really got. If you look at the times and the places where the BJP wins, there's always a substantial share of the vote. Even if there was an opposition candidate who'd combined all their forces, there still wouldn't be much chance of defeating the BJP. So that whole arithmetic approach rests on this central misconception. It doesn't work that way. To defeat the BJP, you've got to go back to the same old things. The government has got to become unpopular, or you've got to present a more attractive or alternative or opposition thing. Effectively, though, there are only two ways in which the BJP can lose. The first is Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh has so many seats in the Lok Sabha, and the BJP wins a disproportionately large share of them. If you hit the BJP in UP, if you reduce its tally in UP, then yes, it would be in trouble in making up the numbers in the Lok Sabha. So how do you do that? Well, arithmetic is the obvious solution. And it's not as the people of UP or the political leaders of UP don't realize this. Let's take Akhilesh Yadav. He aligned with Rahul Gandhi. Do you remember that? For the assembly elections. And he worked on the assumption that the Congress's rump, 10-15% of the vote would put together with his would help him defeat the BJP. When that didn't work, he aligned with the BSP. And he thought then that Mayawati's vote combined with his would help him defeat the BJP. He was wrong again. Why was he wrong? Because elections are not about arithmetic. Even if the arithmetic seems right, and in this case, I'm not even sure it did, but even if it seems right, this whole argument rests on the assumption that people are willing to take votes from one party which they support and immediately transfer them to another party only because the two leaders have aligned. It doesn't work that way. What happened with the BSP and the SP was that BSP voters didn't feel they were able to vote for an SP candidate. The same thing happened with the Congress and the SP. SP voters weren't willing to vote for a Congress candidate. So this whole opposition unity thing has been tried. It hasn't really worked. It's an old argument. In 1971, when Indira Gandhi was riding high, they said the same thing, opposition unity and we'll defeat her. And they created something called the Grand Alliance. And this was just what Mrs. Gandhi needed. She said, "Main kehti hoon, garibi hatao. Wo kehte hain, Indira hatao." And she caricatured them, saying that all that they have in common is a desire to get rid of me. That is what Mr. Modi is also saying. He's saying that they united only because they hatred of his, not because they have any particular values, any particular program, or any particular ideology. So opposition unity will make some difference. But let's not forget that these are essentially regional parties. And they do quite well in their regional areas. Yashwant Deshmukh, the prominent psephologist, points out that to say the regional parties have done badly is wrong. Often they've defeated the BJP. Look at Mamata in Bengal. They do quite well, but they do well only in their areas. If they unite, it doesn't make a great deal of difference to the national picture. Let's take, say, Sharad Pawar and Nitish, two people we hear a lot about at the moment. Assume Pawar and Nitish align. And Nitish doesn't put up candidates in Maharashtra. It'll make no difference. Pawar doesn't put up candidates in Bihar. It'll make no difference. This stuff about regional leaders aligning makes no difference when it comes to fighting the BJP. It might make some sense after election if you can cobble together some kind of coalition government. But now it's just wishful thinking, just talk of arithmetic that doesn't really exist. So UP is one problem. Unless the opposition finds a way of winning UP, Mr. Modi is home and dry. But it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is the Congress. There's a sort of tacit agreement among opposition leaders that the Congress is now a figure of fun. It's meant to be opposed. It's meant to be made fun of. It's a joke, etc. They laugh and they bristle when the Congress says, as the only national party, it's the natural leader of any opposition alliance. What they say, can the Congress possibly hope to achieve? It's a party that's lost everything. It's got the stage where even AAP, which was wiped out by the BJP in the last parliamentary election, feels it has a moral right to make fun of the Congress. And yet the truth is, ultimately, the Congress is the key to defeating Mr. Modi in the way that opposition unity isn't. Let me explain that to you. There are, Yashwant Deshmukh says 200, let's assume he's exaggerating, say at least 150 seats all over India, which are more or less straight fights between the BJP and the Congress. The last two elections have shown us that the Congress loses these seats. At the last election in Madhya Pradesh, where the Congress should have been strong, it had a state government in place, the BJP won 28 out of 29 seats. The Congress won just one. Wherever the Congress should be winning, wherever it fights the BJP, the Congress doesn't just lose, it's wiped out. That is the basis of the BJP strength in parliament. If in these 150 to 200 seats, the Congress wins something like a majority of them, that's the end of the BJP. They may still form a government, but it'll have to be a coalition. They'll lose their majority. And yet, the Congress doesn't seem to be able to fight these seats effectively. Madhya Pradesh was one example. Gujarat is another one, where it started well, and then after one assembly election defeat, Rahul Gandhi just gave up the fight and sort of kissed Gujarat goodbye. Punjab is another example. It's a state where the Congress traditionally has done well, where the Akali Dal is in retreat. The Congress gifted that away to AAP because of its own stupidity. They didn't just gift it away, they sort of gift wrapped it and handed it to AAP because of the stupidity and ineptitude of its leadership. So yes, there's a lot to make fun of in the Congress. There is no doubt that the Congress has not fought elections the way it should have. But on the other hand, if the Congress does not lead a revival, if the Congress does not lead or become a prominent part of any opposition alliance, there's nothing for Mr. Modi to worry about. Now, Congress leaders say in their defense that things have changed after the Bharat Jodo Yatra, after the election of a new Congress president, that the party is finally getting its act together. They point to Karnataka where they say the Congress will win. I'm always suspicious of such claims because the BJP has ways of making sure that people lose and they win. But assuming that the Congress wins Karnataka, or even if it doesn't, that it comes very close to winning Karnataka, there is no doubt that the Congress is back in business. But is that enough? Is that going to make a great difference to those 150 seats or 200 seats which guarantee the BJP the right to form the government? I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. Experience has told us that the Congress talks big but doesn't deliver. So history is not on the Congress's side. But if the Congress can get its act together, if it can do well in those seats, then that ultimately is much more significant than Nitish and Pawar uniting or Mamata saying that Nitish is her leader or whatever. We don't know. We don't know what will happen. But we do know this, that the reason Narendra Modi stays in power is because the Congress doesn't know how to fight him.